Hello, my name is Shara Yael. Welcome back to my channel. Before we begin today's video, I want to give a huge thank you to everyone who watched and loved the video I made last year, Asexual Lesbian, What Does That Mean? Filming that video was a very spur-of-the-moment decision, and honestly I was kind of terrified to upload it. But I was bombarded by so much love and support, and I'm still getting such lovely comments on it now. And for that, I'm just so happy. Not just because I got a lot of views on it, but more so that I was able to actually help people realize and understand their identities better. My heart couldn't be warmer. So I wanted to make this follow-up video for a while, but as a professional procrastinator, I just kept not doing it. But we're doing it today. So basically today I'm going to be walking you through the process of how I came to realize that I was an asexual lesbian. So just a disclaimer, everything I say in this video is 100% my personal experience, and is in no way meant to be seen as universal. You may relate to some of this, or you may not, and that's okay. Like, everybody's different. For a slightly more general exploration of what it means to be asexual and a lesbian, you can watch my previous video. I will leave the link to it in the description below. Now that all of that is out of the way, let's begin at the beginning. I was a very not straight child, but being raised Catholic and homeschooled, for years I had little to no access to the terminology that would have explained what these not straight feelings actually were. I just, I really liked holding my friends' hands, and thought they were really pretty, and maybe would sometimes imagine up hypothetical futures in which me and a friend would run away into the forest together and live in a tiny cottage and have tea parties every day. Cottagecore lesbianism starts young. But I was little and none of it meant anything. I just really liked my friends, in a completely platonic, not queer at all way. Really. And then, I kissed one of them, and my whole world changed forever. I think at the time, the kiss was especially confusing because I still didn't know gay people were a thing yet. I was like 10 years old, or so, and I was just extremely confused. I absolutely experienced internalized homophobia for years as a child, and I mean it in the literal sense. The song I Kissed a Girl by Katy Perry would play on the radio, and I would tremble in fear because, oh god, I kissed a girl too. Nobody can ever find out. I don't have a vivid memory of when I first had the talk, or if there ever was a talk. I remember watching documentaries and stuff about birth, and how sperm turns into a baby and all that, but I don't really remember the specific moment I figured out what sex was. I just kind of did, but my childhood interpretation of it was very ace. For a while I think I assumed it was basically a medical procedure, and people only did it for the sake of making babies, right? And the internet taught me otherwise. Gentle side note before people accuse me of being sex negative, I was like 12. I read a lot of fanfiction as a teen, and a lot of it at that age were those YN self-insert type fics. And I really wanted to understand the appeal of imagining yourself doing it with your favorite anime boys. I really did. But I just didn't. I eventually came to the conclusion that people were just significantly more attractive with clothes on than without. Also, I was much more likely to daydream about being the Elric's younger sister than I was imagining Ed and I kissing. I kept telling myself that I was still very young and would probably be totally down to fluff when I was an adult. I just had to, meet the right person. I was going to find a nice boy, get married, and have 7 babies. Wait, that's kind of a lot. And pregnancy sounds kind of unpleasant. Okay, 5 babies. Or 2 babies. Or maybe just 1? I don't know, maybe I don't want to have babies at all. But what was the alternative? Become a nun? Maybe I'll become a nun then. When I was about, 15, I discovered a website called DIY.org. It doesn't really exist anymore, which is tragic, but it was basically a website for kids that was meant to teach you various skills and harness creativity through earning virtual badges. For example, a cooking badge or a writing badge. And to earn a badge, you had to complete a handful of challenges, and to prove you completed the challenges, you posted them on your account page for moderators and other users to see. And you could follow the other users who were also kids like you, and like and comment on each other's posts and become friends. So, basically, it was like social media for kids whose parents didn't want them on Instagram or Twitter yet. DIY slowly became my entire life, and I made a lot of friends there. The most popular thing to do there besides earning badges was to RP. The role-playing community on DIY was great. I think I earned like 4 badges during my time on the site, but I was still a big account. And I think at one point did have over 1k followers. But we're getting a bit sidetracked. For the sake of this video, the most important thing I gained on DIY was vocabulary. Specifically, I was finally acquainted with words like gay, and lesbian, and transgender, and queer. I met someone who identified as gender fluid, and who used they-them pronouns. I met kids who self-identified as queer. I remember being on the site the day gay marriage was legalized in all 50 states. And the on-site moderators removed the censors on the word gay and other LGBTQIA+ terms. This was all so wild and new and exciting, but I was just an ally. A very devout, passionate ally. But you know, an ally. I remember being very enthusiastic one day when a friend wanted to do a girl x girl RP, but that was just because I was such a good ally. I remember the year Yuri on Ice came out, and I watched it just like everyone else, and enjoyed it. But my favorite anime that aired that winter were actually Kiss Him Not Me and Magical Girl Raising Project. Though I didn't do it on purpose, both of those anime had canon lesbian representation, and I was very surprised by how much I loved seeing that. I also started looking at character relationships in my all-time favorite anime, Madoka Magica, a little bit differently. Was Homura actually in love with Madoka? Huh. That actually makes me really happy to think about. I mean, sad too, Madoka Magica isn't exactly the sunshine and rainbows it pretends to be. But also, I realized that I really liked shipping girls with girls. It was also somewhere around this time that I saw Willow and Terra falling in love on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I was just like, wow, this is a real thing. Wow. But this was all internally. Externally, I was still very, very, very straight. I swear. When all of my friends wanted to talk about boys and crushes, I wanted to join in too. No, not want. Had to. Needed to. I didn't want to be left out of the conversation. So when I was asked which boy I had a crush on, I just picked one at random. And so for the next 2 years, everyone thought I had a huge crush on this boy. And honestly, I did too. You know, the whole, if you say something enough times, even you will start to believe it. But oh god, was it miserable. I played it up to the point where I physically couldn't be in the same room with him without turning into an awkward blushy mess. And it made me so uncomfortable. Honestly, he seemed like a genuinely decent person. I hope he's doing well. But when it came down to it, I just didn't actually like him like that. And it wasn't just him. It started getting to the point where I didn't like being close with any boys. Because anytime I was, people assumed I liked them, which led me to worry that they might also like me. And it was fine. I am straight. But also, I don't want to have a boyfriend at all. I do at one point start considering myself bi. Not openly, goodness no. But I noticed that a lot of my favorite YouTubers at the time were bi, and so I think, so I can like boys and girls? I focus more on the liking girls part, but you know, I still like boys. I'm still somewhat normal. I almost come out. But then I bury it back down. I'm not ready yet. The day I realize, oh wait, I might be a lesbian. It was during my freshman year of college. I was volunteering at a local Comic-Con. Honestly, I hated the experience. 90% of it was me wandering in circles for hours waiting for people to ask me where the bathroom was. But at one point, I was asked to babysit an artist's table while she was on a panel. The artist was Tana Ford. On her table was a really cute handwritten sign that read, "This table contains a lesbian and the comics she makes." And, I had the realization that A random passerby who didn't know who Tana Ford was might walk past the table, read the sign, and assume that I am the lesbian that makes the comics. Assume that I am a lesbian, and I loved that. I wanted a random stranger to look at me and see a lesbian. It felt amazing. I'm going to be upfront and honest about something right now. I've never been in a relationship, and I'm not ashamed of that fact. But also I understand that for a lot of people, they come to these sorts of discoveries and realizations about themselves from their romantic and sexual encounters. And I haven't had any of those. But also I think that makes my story important too. Just because you've never dated a girl or had sex before doesn't mean that you can't know you're a lesbian or asexual. A label is just a label. You can call yourself whatever feels the most comfortable, and nobody can take that away from you. I don't think that realizing I was asexual was ever a huge eureka moment. I learned of the term probably when I was around 17, likely from Ash Hardle's videos on the topic, and it just made sense. It was easy for me to come to the realization that I had no desire whatsoever to have sex with a man. But it made my feelings about women very conflicted. It makes me think of that section in the Am I a Lesbian Master Doc, which I have a few other issues with, but that's another video entirely. But specifically the part in which it says, and I'm paraphrasing, you think you might be asexual because you don't want to have sex with a man. Because that implies that the assumption that you are asexual is false, and you are sexually attracted to women, you just don't realize it yet. But I was fairly certain that I didn't want to have sex with anyone. Did that mean my attraction to girls wasn't real? Nope. And for anyone else who might have similar worries, sexual and romantic attraction aren't intrinsically linked. You can feel romantic attraction without sexual attraction, and sexual attraction without romantic attraction. This is called the split attraction model, where your romantic and sexual attractions are different. So in my case, I am a homoromantic asexual, or an asexual lesbian. The split attraction model isn't aspec exclusive, but is most commonly used and discussed in asexual and aromantic circles. I didn't fully accept the fact that I was gay and ace until 2019, when I was 20 years old. Some people are openly out and queer much younger, some not until they're much older. I don't really think it matters when you come out, even just to yourself, as long as you personally feel good about it. I was terrified for years that there was something deeply wrong with me. I feared I was going to go to hell for even thinking about kissing girls. But right now, it feels great to be out. The rampant homophobia and aphobia in the world is disheartening. But I have a lot of great people in my life who love and accept me for who I am. And for me, that is everything. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. If you did, please leave a purple heart emoji in the comments below, or tell me what your favorite dessert is. Personally, I have a massive sweet tooth and love just about anything with chocolate, but at the moment my heart belongs to half moons. I love you all so much, and know that whether you are an ally, still in the closet, or out and proud, I fully support you. I hope you have the loveliest of days, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye!